Hello, and welcome to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, Friday Focus is going to be taking a look at something that I think is pertinent to every single one of us. I title today's Friday Focus 70686. You might say, well, that's kind of weird. What does that mean? Well, let's discuss it for a moment and you'll come to see what I saw. It was just a small purchase at the supermarket, some peppers, mushrooms, and mandarin oranges. Not those small golf ball size ones. These were clementines, large, round, and juicy, and somehow they added to my Christmas spirit. I'd hand-picked 4 of them from the box and put them in the little plastic bag. Then, since they were mandarin and not regular oranges, I memorized the code so I could give it to the lady at the checkout counter. 70686. I repeated it to myself several times. Their size and shape looked similar to regular oranges. They were large, and I didn't want the cashier to be confused. And so I watched as the conveyor belt carried my purchases toward the lady, scanning my items. First, she scanned the bag of peppers. Then came the container of mushrooms, and finally, my little bag of mandarin clementine oranges. She stopped, looked closely at the oranges, then checked a book and typed in a code. I saw on the screen that she had typed in the code for regular oranges, which were cheaper. So I said, no, those oranges are mandarins, they're clementines. The code is 70686. So she canceled out the previous code and typed in the one I gave her. The screen lit up, clementine mandarins with leaf and stem. And I went to the end of the counter to bag my purchases. While I was opening my bag and grabbing at the peppers, I noticed she was checking her book again, but I didn't really pay much attention. In another minute or so, everything was bagged up, the bill was paid, and I left the store with visions of sugar plum mandarins in my head. Later that evening, as I was enjoying one of those tasty mandarins, I began to think about the checkout lady and wondered why she had gone back to her book. I got the receipt, and sure enough, she had canceled the code I'd given her and typed in another code with a cheaper price, thinking I had a different type of orange. And her error was a $2 difference, but it was in my favor. At first, I was tempted to think, yay me, I finally catch a break in the middle of all this inflation. But somehow, I just couldn't let 70686 go, and it bugged me all the rest of that evening. I woke up in the middle of the night with my mind broadcasting 70686. The next morning, I returned to the store and went to the customer service counter where I explained the situation and showed them my receipt and told them I thought I owed them another couple of dollars. The lady punched in the code I gave her, and sure enough, it was $2 more in the store's favor. Don't worry about it, she said. Enjoy your oranges. However, I'm really impressed with your honesty. Since no other customers were waiting to talk to her, I spent the next couple of minutes explaining I'm a Christian and I want to do what Jesus would do. She asked me a couple of questions and then it was time to leave. Now, perhaps you're saying to yourself, all that over a lousy $2? I in turn would have to respond, it's not about the $2. It's about integrity and character. Let's take a look at that for a moment. Integrity versus character. Someone once told me that character is who you are when nobody is looking. You see, it's not the masks we sometimes wear to impress or to get what we want. It's living out the morality of integrity on a daily basis. Character is the child of integrity. Integrity is part of the building blocks that make you the person you are. Character is the visible translation of integrity. I suppose one could say that character is your integrity on display for everyone to see. In 2023 is about to begin, and New Year's is usually a time for resolutions. People across the globe make choices they think will help them reach their goals, improve their health, and better their lives. While about 50% of individuals make resolutions, a 2016 study found that only about 9% successfully keep them. Resolutions are a lot different than the pursuit of character, which flows out of integrity. So, how does an individual get integrity to have character, so that instead of making resolutions they may or may not keep, they will exhibit authenticity, consistency, and character that comes from being like Jesus? By the way, did you know being like Jesus is God's goal for you? Look at what the scripture says. For God knew his people in advance, and he chose them to become like his Son. Romans chapter 8, verse 29. So, making it happen. How does that come about? Well, there is something you can do. It's not easy, nor is it something you might think of first. If you truly want to transform your life, it helps to know this, that transformation flows out of presentation. What do I mean by that? The Apostle Paul helps us connect the dots. If we read Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2 in the Message version, we find presentation and transformation. Presentation is first. This is what it says. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you take your everyday life, your ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. That's presentation. And out of it comes transformation. Look at the next verse, verse 2. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. So, adhering to the Romans pattern means that 70686 and a zillion other things have to be dealt with. Integrity demands it. This is Dr. Vic Hollyford in his grace. If you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Have an amazing week and a wonderful new year.